Good afternoon. And let's start. We'll need the time. So this is the first lecture in CVSP to new CVSP 201. And I suppose most of you are attending now for the first time CVSP course. Who's attended a course before this in CVSP? No one. So it's the first course in CVSP. And this is why we need the introductory lectures, mostly because you're going to attend at least 2 courses in CVSP. Some of you opt to attend 4 courses, and the 2 CVSP requirements, and other 2 courses from within the humanities pool, which I'll explain in a minute. So the first part of this talk that I'm giving you, this encounter that we're having, is just to explain what is CVSP about. We call it now CS or CVSP. It's Civilization Studies Program, okay? It used to be Civilization Sequence Program. Sequence in the sense that students used to attend 4 lectures, 4 courses, one after the other, okay? 201, 202, 203, and 204. CS 201, the one you're taking now, you opted to attend now, starts with ancient civilizations. First Mesopotamian from this part of the world, then Mediterranean Greece, and we end there. Yani the Greco, it's Mesopotamia and then Greco-Roman empires. CVSP 202, we move to medieval, classical if you want, medieval, depending on where are you looking from. It could be medieval or not medieval, according to the European classification. But let's call it medieval, classical, Islamic, and Christian cultures up to around the 16th century. 203 is 16th century, pre-modernity, and modernity. Okay, Enlightenment. 204 is modernity, starting with Freud and others. Then we end with modern Arabic novels, literature. Okay, so what we do is we read, actually. CS is a program about great books. Great with small g, I would write it, not with big G, because it depends. What's great for me might not be great for you. But it's not about me and you. It's about books that are central to the education of any cultivated person by authors that really shaped the thinking of millions of people throughout the ages, in all different cultures and languages, by the way. We are reading these books in English translation, okay? But they come from diverse cultures and epochs, okay? As I said, Gilgamesh will start in 201, something like 2,500 BC, if I'm not mistaken. But let's suppose it's more than 5,000 years, okay, from our time, from the time we're standing in now. So it's about great books in the sense that they shape the minds of people. All of these texts we read in CS are regarded as classics, okay? In the sense that they have had a permanent significance for and impact on generations of readers. They have influenced minds and shaped cultural heritages, either universally or in a specific cultural milieu. In a sense, they formed a vital part of the public consciousness, en parenthèse, of many societies till our present day. Accordingly, these books also speak to our reality, Maratani en parenthèse, what is reality as such, okay, to our reality and our existence today, and open up venues for questions relative to our being in the 21st century. As we're going to see, each one of these texts, and please never call them stories. Don't say, I've read the story, it's not stories. Even if it's a story, we are dealing with discourses, okay? With mental discourses, with cultural discourses, and with texts. Whether it's an epic, and we're going to see what's an epic, or a story like a novel, if you want, narrative, okay? So let's call them texts. What do we do in CS courses? Basically, we read and discuss. That's the only thing we do. Our training, this is kind of basic training, how to read and how to discuss. But we're reading and discussing great books and great ideas. Our role is that of a midwife, as you're going to see. This is in Greek culture, we're going to see it Socrates. is a midwife. Midwife is someone who helps, okay, helps me to bring out my ideas. Okay, قابلة قانونية in Arabic, with a wife who helps another to get birth. Okay, so the birth of ideas. We're helping each other. We're discussing. It's not about someone, a teacher standing in front of you and lecturing as I'm doing now. Okay, it's about when you go back to classes. It's about you having prepared the text and to read and discuss. So this midwife who facilitates the communication process with texts and helps in the birth of ideas on your part through discussions and argumentations. On your part and on the part of the lecturer, teacher, who is interacting with you and who's gaining new ideas and new inputs and from your part. Now, how to read, and this is a very important thing. How to read, we should have learned how to read in high schools, by the way. We don't do this, not always. We tend to memorize, run to the baccalaureate premiere party, deuxième party, in order to get the grades and what have you. It's not anymore like this now. Even if you're running for grades, you think you're running for grades, this is not the main issue. Not the main issue in CVSP. Let's hope that, okay? So we need to read, actually. It's a training about reading. It's about reading skills, thinking skills, writing skills, discussions, okay? And of becoming cultivated. So how do we read? And I would suggest, first, let us keep in mind that our readings are of limited range. Something like 30 pages per week, not more than that, okay? Which is not much. In order to enjoy the great texts we are reading and to make of our reading experience productive and interactive activity, I suggest that first we have a look at the text before coming to the common lecture, what we're doing today. And I suppose that on Monday or during the weekend, you have had a look at the text, at least, just to make yourself familiar with the text, or read, the first 2-3 pages, skimmed through the text. This would help us have a kind of a foretaste, I would call it. The lectures are meant to introduce the text, situate it in its cultural and intellectual milieu, address the main ideas in it, and raise questions about its significance. Now, it could be this, could be other things. It depends on the lecturer, okay? But we're saying we want to read the text themselves. We are reading original texts, not in the original language, okay? For we're reading the text, we need a kind of introduction to the text. The lecturer tries to make this. Now, some lecturers go in depth in the text itself that we are going to see. Others try to make an introduction, okay, the milieu of the text, the context, okay? But basically, what we do in CVSP, we read the text itself. The lectures are meant to introduce the text. I've said this. So we should be able to hear and concentrate for the interval of 40 or 45 minutes. By the way, this is part of your training at the university, okay? Not all courses have such lectures. But all universities that I know of, I won't claim in the world or whatever, the few universities that we Google or that we visited or we taught about, they give courses with lectures, especially for undergraduates. It's part of the training, by the way, okay? And as I always tell the students, if you're doing engineering or medicine, for that matter, or whatever you're doing, economics, business, what have you, okay? You end up in your job, most probably in the Gulf, as it's happening now, okay? And at some point, your boss tells you, please, and I can't make it this Friday or this Monday or whatever, for a conference, take the plane I'm paying you, go attend the conference, come back to me, and I want you to brief me about the conference. You can't tell her or him, look, I'm not trained, I don't do that. And I can't concentrate for 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm sorry about that. It's part of your training to concentrate, okay? So try to avoid these, cell phones and all these games that you have. You don't want to come to lecture, don't come to the lecture. It's better not to be a hypocrite. Say, I don't want to come, fine, you pay for it then with your class. But we'd rather attend the lecture and interact in the lecture. And please do stop me if you have questions at any point. So this is what I was saying, we are reading texts that have permanent significance on generations of readers, influence great minds, and shape cultural heritage. They speak to our reality, en parenthèse, and open up for us questions relative to being. Some of you might say, but why am I supposed I've talked about this, that it is part of your training? Let us bear in mind that the aim of the lecture is to provide you with skills in order to approach these texts and make them inspire fruitful and meaningful reflections. And after the lecture, you go back home now, or whatever, you go back to the cafe and you want to read before you go to class, okay? So the lectures have opened your mind, have pointed at some very interesting things you might want to consider while reading. So now starts your job, by the way, okay? As I've said, at the weekend or the week before, you've had a foretaste of the text. You've looked, you skimmed through the text, at least for once. You came to the lecture, you hear the lecture, and then you need to sit and read the 30 pages for that particular week and be able to go to class, discuss, communicate with each other and with the instructor. A thorough reading of the text would be indispensable after the lecture. Here, you need to focus your mind, write down the main ideas, and reflect on the material. What I do, if I have my text on the computer, on my portable, okay, then I'll need the dictionary as well. So you can read directly, check the words on the dictionary, mark the words in yellow, or you do it with a pencil and the text that you have in hand, okay? If you don't want to buy the books, no problem. You can borrow the books from the library, but don't write on the books from the library. Photocopy is fine, it's few pages, or you can download the text. But this you need to discuss with your instructors in class. Each instructor has a different approach to how to use the text. But you need to have the texts with you in class. We read, we don't come there and just look at each other and listen to the instructor. Okay, please keep this in mind. What we offer is an exercise in how to read, discuss, and express our minds orally and in writing, and learn new cultural vocabulary. At the end of the course, you should have learned. We're not doing an exercise in vocabulary, of course, but you're learning cultural vocabulary in their context and in the context of the texts that you are reading. This is very enriching as well. Effectively, we also undertake with those books, a journey. Each book is a journey, by the way. We're going to see it. We're starting the course with journey, the journey of Gilgamesh. And then we do the journey of Odyssey. And then we do a journey, a mental journey, by the way, in the Republic of Plato, as we are going to see. The ability to imagine the experience of another, a capacity almost all human beings possess in some form, needs to be greatly enhanced and refined if we are to have any hope of sustaining decent institutions across the many divisions that any modern society contains. And I'm quoting, this was a quotation from Professor Martha Nussbaum in philosophy, okay, in ethics, who teaches great books, by the way, and she loves teaching great books to undergraduate students and to interact with them. So this is the quotation from her. We will be dealing with different genres or types of texts from various epochs and cultures, from the ancient and classical words, from Mesopotamia, Assyria, that you see the land between the two rivers, Tigris and the Euphrates, and then we move up to Greece. Greek culture, and then Greco-Roman culture in the area, and the Mediterranean and Italy as well. The first text we will encounter is the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known poems. So an epic is a narrative poem, by the way. Okay, this is an epic, and I'm going to discuss more about it. It's a document of genuinely ancient humanism. In Mesopotamia and ancient Greek word meaning the land between the two rivers, mainly Iraq and northern Syria today. You see it there on the map. From the 3rd millennium before our Common Era. Common Era, CE, is the time we're living in now. What is an epic? And I said we're reading the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is the name of the hero. What is an epic? It is a sublime narrative. So it's a narrative, but sublime in the sense, we're going to see now in what sense, which went through a long period of oral tradition before it was written in poetry. So it's written down in poetry, but it's a narrative. It went through a long period of oral tradition, as we're going to see in Gilgamesh and in Homer, by the way. Yani, Homer is not the author. We don't know who's the author. And in this epic, we don't know who's the author, okay? It's gone over generations and generations, hundreds of years of oral tradition in different languages, by the way, before it was written down in Babylonian. So it's a cumulative work of many authors over a long period of time. An epic narrates the deeds and adventures of heroic or legendary figures and reflects a heroic ethos. So we're talking about heroes. Heroes now, not in the sense that we know it today, okay, basketball hero or baseball hero or what have you, Superman and other things. That a hero is a demigod, as we're going to see, someone greater than life, but he's from us. He's a human being. He's like us, from the society. So the hero embodies the values of that culture. An epic is inclined to condense long-drawn tensions into brief scenes of dramatic power, enhanced by visual magnificence that we call dramatic moments. By the way, as we're going to see, the tragic moments in tragedy, when we are going to read tragedies, are moments taken out from epics, okay? So there is a concentration in feelings, there's a concentration in time, there's a concentration in the character. This is what makes the character bigger than life. Epics are mythical in the sense that a myth is a traditional or legendary story, usually concerning some being or hero or event with or without determinable basis, in fact. So it's a narrative about origins. It's not history. It's not something actual. It's not something real, okay? It's a myth tells us about the origins of cultures, origins of beings. Some features of content of an epic are of cosmic scale. Cosmos as understood by these early peoples and cultures. Setting in the distant past, journey or quest with a serious purpose. Plots dealing with wars and conflicts and the representations of characters with noble qualities. So we're going to encounter in each epic only, few people, more than few, 10, 12 characters, okay, representative of the culture and undertaking a journey. The three cultures we'll be introduced to are polytheistic cultures. Poly, more than one, mazboot. Theism, do you have an idea what theism, where does it come from? Yes. God, theo, in Greek God, divine, the one who said divine, yes, you're right. So polytheism is all the cultures, all the religions and cultures that have that venerate more than one God, okay? We still have many cultures, by the way, nowadays in our common era that are still polytheistic, which is fine. This is a way. Not all cultures are one theism, okay, with one God. We think of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, but I think, I'm not sure, these are not the majority of the globe today. Yani, believers in these three religions are not the majority, not necessarily. So we have polytheism and monotheism, and this is just fine, okay? We happen to live in a world where the majority are, or at least claim to be monotheists. But we have amongst our ranks as students and families and professors, and not only in UB, in our society and other societies, people who are atheists as well. Neither polytheists nor monotheists, okay? So this is polytheism. All the three cultures that we are encountering are polytheism. Each one has its certain, and you're going to discuss this in class. Now, who is a hero? A hero or heroes are God-like, small g, God, okay? God-like persons with many dignified traits in their characters. They're definitely handsome or pretty. They have handsome and pretty appearances and strength. Heroes are subjected to the harshness of their fate. There is a supernatural power, a power in nature itself, or sometimes bigger than nature, okay, that confronts these heroic figures, okay? So there's a confrontation with the cosmic scale, if you want, okay, with fate, en parenthèse, call it faith. Often, these figures began their voyages full of recklessness and selfishness. So they start off as reckless individuals, only concentrating on their own interests and desires. And at the end of the journey, they become one, if you want. They become part of the society that they are representing. This is why they are heroes, because at the end of the day, they represent the values of the societies. A hero accepts challenges, by the way, fights against monsters, demons, and makes unnecessary risks, and discovers frightful and unknown lands and mysteries. We're going to see that, I think, 2 or 3 epics that we read, they undertake a journey to the underworld, okay, discover underworld, Hades, or whatever Hades in Greek, or whatever the name on the original culture is. So there are adventures and journeys which are not always in real geography. Now, I have reached point 3 on your fly sheets. Basic to the Gilgamesh, to the epic of Gilgamesh, it is the issue of death. Of course, many other themes, but one of the main themes, friendship and death, as we are going to encounter. Immortality. Why do I die as a human being? Why do I die as a hero, not only as a human being? A hero is a human being. Sometimes 1/3 godly, but he represents us. Why do we die? Why mortality? In the course of the epic, we witness the transformation of Gilgamesh's heroic indifference. By the way, what I have here is the kunai form. Okay? Kunai form is a form of letters, one of the earliest alphabet, I think. Okay? Don't take my word, I'm not the expert on that. Which was written with... this is the kunai, this is the tool, okay? So you engrave them on clay, and then you burn the clay. This is why the tablets that were found are more than 3,000 years old, and this is burnt clay. So this is the tool, and you inscribe there. So this is the kunai form. In Arabic, I would say mismari. بسموه الحرف المسماري, okay? It's like a pen. So an epic is a sublime authoritative narrative. We're talking about the epic, and we've reached Gilgamesh. Inner changes in Gilgamesh mostly take place precisely in the context of confrontation and distance travel. Now, whether literal, from his city to Uruk to the wilderness, and from Uruk to the ends of the earth, or else figurative travel. So travel could be travel in real time space, geographic time space, their time space, or it could be, again, a mythic, figurative travel, as in the case of Enkidu's own passage from nature to culture, as we are going to see. And please always keep in mind, and I think this would come in a minute, this is what we call an initiation rite. okay? We studied today at university and culture in more than one department, sociology, anthropology, literature, philosophy, and other departments. What is an initiation rite, okay? So most of these epics are initiation rites. The epic itself, the journey itself. But sometimes one of the figures take as well an initiation rite. You can discuss it in class with your instructors. You can read about it. Victor Turner, of course, others as well, but with Victor Turner we reach the theory that we use today. I have reached point 8 on your fly sheets. Now we move to the Greeks. So only this I'm going to talk about Gilgamesh. We are going to hear a lecture about Gilgamesh, I think, and about the Odyssey, and about, I'm only introducing the course, okay? What do we do in CVST? Now we move, when we finish the epic of Gilgamesh, we move to another culture, and this is the Greek culture, Mediterranean. Here we have Gilgamesh. Of course, we don't have Gilgamesh, okay? A representation, a very ancient representations, Gilgamesh, and at that end we have a representation of Odysseus. Both representations, by the way, come from their own cultures. The rite of passage, we have it here, okay? Journey as a rite of passage. Initiation rite is a ritual that marks a change in a person's social or sexual status. Rites of, and this is from the Wikipedia, okay? I'm not using anything now very difficult, something that is handy. But it's not only about knowing the names. I'd rather read about it, discuss it among each other, and discuss it in class. We're going to encounter it at this university, I think, and other courses as well. So now we move to this Greek word, okay? The word of the Greek culture, and we start around 1200 BC. This is the Bronze Age, as you're going to see with the lecture, 2 lectures on Odyssey. So what is very important, I think, what I want to highlight now is the idea of the polis. The polis is the city-state. It's wrong to say city-state as well, okay? Well, I don't know if I'm pronouncing rightly, polis. I don't know Greek, okay? And we're reading in English. But I think it's the polis. It's a state. It's indeed a city-state. It's a small city-state. The Greeks lived, because each, and as we're going to see, each and every individual in the city, the citizens, the free citizens, is responsible. Let's see what is a city-state. So this is a polis. It's a community of adult male citizens, adult and male, and free add to it, okay? Women and slaves, they don't have the right as citizens. Okay, so citizen, Athens is one of these policies, if you want. Sparta is another, and all the other names that we have. The polis exists for the sake of good life. Okay, for the sake of good life. Compare when we start reading about Uruk, which is again a city for the well-being of the community. And see the change that Gilgamesh undertook from tyrant at the beginning, and then at the end caring about his citizens, the old and the young. And the idea of the Greek polis now is more concentrated. The polis exists for the sake of good life, for direct participation in the making of rational choices after discussion. I'm only talking about male, of course, chauvinistic, and free, okay, adult male free. A human being fulfills his humanity and excellence as an active member of the polis. So the polis is about my well-being as a human being, my maturity as a human being, okay? So this is a very important idea, I think, the polis. Another thing, we move to reading, the first thing we're reading, the Odyssey. The Odyssey is again a journey, a long journey, a homecoming, a Nostos, and you read 2 lectures, okay? Now we move to Thucydides, where war is a violent teacher. By the way, Thucydides is writing the history of the civil war that he lived through, by the way. He fought in the first 2 years, I think. Now, don't take my word, okay? I'm just trying to introduce, okay? Each and every book that we are reading. So we move in genre now. The first 2 books are epics. Gilgamesh, then the Odyssey. Then we move to a history book, one of the earliest history books, where we can say, underline this is history with methodology. What makes it very interesting, okay, he's describing a civil war in Greece. We've all lived through civil wars, and our part of the world is still living and will be living through civil wars. So what is the condition of the human being, if you want, in civil war, okay? And what is the methodology a historian is using to describe events that he's witnessing? Now, not as things has happened. No one can tell us how things has happened. This reality, again, on parentheses, okay? Just forget about it. Now, we're talking about narratives. Life is about narratives. Reality is about narratives at the end of the day, okay? So now here we have a narrative by a historian. So history means inquiry, causes and effects of the war. Now we take it for granted now. Yes, this is history. This is one of the first, if you want. First, okay, it's who started thinking about what is the methodology of history. And we're reading only, a few pages. Against excess in power. So part of the mentality of an empire is excess in power. Athens was an empire. Sparta was an empire, okay, with colonies. So wars start usually due to greed and excess power. This is not something new. It's not only now, these big superpowers, global powers that are today. So it is something, a contrast between right and might. And this is the Malian dialogue that we are going to. It's extremely interesting, all the books that we are reading, by the way, because they are still very lively and concern us. So this understanding of human nature is pessimistic. Now, the whole idea of human nature now, and I don't see as human nature as something fixed there, okay? Human nature has to be seen with society, with culture, within culture, and not human nature as human nature, this mythical Adam and Eve with the sin, I don't know what, which is all mythical, okay? We believe in as belief, but we need to think about it. Okay, but human nature as something that just started there with Gilgamesh and the Greeks, and it's still today is the same. No, we interact with human beings. We interact with culture, with society, and with other things. So there's no human nature apart from culture. And I am quoting Clifford Geertz, I think one of the most important or not very important intellectual in our day, anthropologist. Polis, we said the polis, we said in the polis we live our humanity as political animals, definitely as political animals as well. So this is the amphitheater. The amphitheater, again, I don't know how you pronounce it in Greek, but anyway, it's the amphitheater. This is the theater that goes down like the Sannabil Ayubi, something of the sort or whatever. Busra in Syrian, okay, the Jordanian-Syrian border. You have one of the most fascinating, by the way, amphitheaters that you can still have a look at. So here, the community meets. They meet to discuss politics, of course, but they meet again to watch, to be part, it's not only watching, to be part of the tragedies that they play. What is a tragedy? And one of the books that we are going to read is a tragedy, tragic ambiguity and human goodness. So tragedy, tragic action, human contentment of and goodness. So themes, and I told you in the epic we have many themes that are very much concentrated, okay? Cultural, mental, psychological, if you want, mythical at points, mostly mythical. But there's always a confrontation, and this confrontation is a tragic confrontation, okay? This is played in the theater, by the way. Once a year, the Greeks have this season, the Dionysian season of festivals. They go there, everyone go there and watch the tragedies, okay? They know the themes. They know the themes. Everyone knows the theme, the storyline, if you want. Okay, the storyline is well known, but each one plays it differently. So tragic hero in misfortune and at grips with his destiny. Moira in Greek, okay, is the word, I think, not directly the word for destiny. A good person could fall short of full goodness under circumstances not under his control. So we as human beings, sometimes you're fragile. Of course we're fragile. Tragedy is about the fragility of the human being. Human being in grips of greater things, bigger than the human being himself. Confrontation between characters. But the tragedy is about excellence and to stand up to challenges. Now, here we have, this is, to drive this is a modern German actor playing Oedipus. Okay? And very important is the mask, by the way. So here, Oedipus is, we're reading Oedipus. I think we're reading Oedipus Rex, or I don't know, a tragedy from Sophocles, okay? So it's very, very important for the Greeks, for the Greek culture, by the way. Okay, this communal life, for the culture itself, tragedy. Tragedy, like, and very well known, the storyline is known for everyone. You go and watch it every year in festival, okay, there. But it's, and we're going to discuss it, what makes the tragedy what it is. And I prefer not to read, so I'm trying to lecture, but I think I'm missing many points. Let me go back to the text itself. Thucydides, I finished Thucydides and Sophocles from the League of Athens. Tragedy is a different genre than the epic. I've mentioned this. Let me see where we've reached. Do we have enough time? I don't know. Definitely, I can't be able to finish all the introduction, but at least it's always good to have this first introduction, I suppose so. Do you have any questions? So this is the amphitheater, goodness. Sorry, give me 2 minutes. معلش, I missed some pages. So the third genre that we're going to encounter now, till now we have read 4 books, by the way. And you would have read 4 books in the future when you do this. Okay, Gilgamesh, and then we do the Odyssey, another epic, and then I think Thucydides, and then we make Sophocles. So we already have 3 genres. Help me with the genres. The first genre is the epic, which is narrative poem. The second, tragedy is the third one, indeed, and then we've read history, historical approach. Now we move to philosophy, by the way. And we're in Athens. When we come to the idea of the polis, the idea of amphitheater, the tragic, and philosophy, we're in Athens between 5th, 4th century BC, okay? This is the zenith, one of the zeniths of Greek culture. So now we're reading a text by Plato, Aflaton in Arabic, the philosophers that you've been encountered with, I think, Plato and Baccalaureate deuxième partie, some of you. You read about Plato in all kinds of courses at UB. Same thing as we're reading Geertz, Turner that I've mentioned, other people. So in CVSP, what we do, we read the text. We're preparing you for many other courses, by the way. Now here we are reading the Republic of Plato. Okay? So Republic, directly when we think of public, we think of a state, by the way. And we're talking about the polis, and we're talking about the city-state. The main question is about justice. Justice. This is something that we need to think about today, really, seriously. During your stay here at AUB, what is justice? How are we going to live in a just state, which is Lebanon is not just state, and I don't think there is a just state as such. So this is a blueprint. You know what's a blueprint? يعني kind of another word for blueprint would be scratch. Temporary. Template, thank you, template. So this template. And this is a dialogue form, by the way. Dialogue form, a discourse. Logic. Now we have five, 6 people, all interested in the same theme, all are students, by the way, philosophy students, with their mentor. Sometimes they're walking around and they discuss a theme. Sometimes they are having, sips of wine and they discuss a theme. A third time they say, we are going to meet down at the Green Oval and have a discussion about a theme. So a theme that went on for a long time amongst them is, what is justice? We as Greeks believe we are living in a polis, and that we are, polis is the idea of human excellence, we said, mazboot, human excellence, and working together and living together and having a position in society and doing politics together, okay? Being mature together. How do we reach justice? Since, as we've seen, definitely with Thucydides, civil war destroys everything. Destroys the human psyche, destroys the human society, destroys everything. So how do we reach justice? So this is one of the basic ideas. How to reach justice in the society and in the human being, herself, himself. So we compare. So this is the tripartite. By the way, all these, I've taken them from Google, okay? But I've chosen the one that I thought is better than other. Justice in the city and justice in the human being is the condition in which each part of a thing performs the task to which it is in essence, in a sense, naturally suited. Thus are all the aspects of excellence, arete in plural, arete in singular, I think, present. This is, now the numbers, look at the numbers, 432b, okay? You'll find the numbers because you have different, dozens of editions of Plato's Republic, even if you are downloading. معناتها you don't look the numbers at the numbers at the bottom of the page, the numbers at the margin, give the number of the lines, of the original lines that they were, okay? So always look at this number. So with Plato, the quest for justice, it's a fascinating reading, by the way. It's fascinating reading. We're not reading everything. We're only, I think, reading some chapters, okay? How these people think together to build a society. It is utopian, yes. You know what's utopian? And it's not necessarily that we're going to start it now, okay? So discuss all these things in class. And it'll be fascinating to read Plato. And you can watch, by the way, on Google sometimes, especially the Simile of the Cave. Okay? The enlightenment of the human mind. And then we are still in philosophy, we're still in Greek, the same time. The student of Plato is Aristotle. He spent with him, I think, 20, 30 years. So Plato is the mentor. Now Aristotle, we read from Aristotle a book on ethics. With Plato, justice in the human soul, justice in the society, how to live as a just person, respectable person, not in excess, as we're going to see. Excellence, okay? The merits, arete. This is very important. Now, how to do this now practically, in moral terms, ethically? Can we measure ethics? Can I say, now I want 3% ethics and tomorrow I live 90% morality? Or is morality something I need to work on in my character? Okay? So again, it's culture. Again, it's society. Again, it's living together, by the way, okay? He's not born, excellent like this, and I'm, don't have it. So our choice, how to meet choices, if I'm a citizen in the polis, in a democratic polis, wanting to live my excellence and the excellence of the polis, I need to make choices. How do I meet these choices? Or avoidance thereof is affected by 3 factors, he tells us. The fine, the control of it is the base, low, degrading. The advantages, the harmful. The pleasant, the painful. Sometimes I meet my choices as a human being because it's advantages for me. Not for my partner. Not for you. Sometimes because it's good in itself. So let's see, what does it mean to be good in itself, okay? How do we meet choices? I'm running quickly, it's fine, sorry, but stop me at any point, and I'm sure you're going to meet now, and I'm just giving you a foretaste, okay? So the mean is relative to us, and this mean is not arithmetical. Mean is the middle, is a bit gone, wasat, we call it in Arabic, okay, between 2 extremes. Anyone who is aiming at the mean should, 1, keep away from the extreme. Again, again, from the epic to the historical, to the tragic, to the philosophical. Stay away from the extreme, which is more contrary to the mean. And when I say here Calypso's advice, you're going to encounter Calypso in Odyssey. معناتها the philosophers are going back to these great texts, by the way. Notice our errors and drag ourselves in the opposite direction. This is the way how we train ourselves as human beings, by the way. God, especially against pleasure and pleasant things. This is what philosophy tells us. And then we move, we're still in morality, we're still in ethics, but now we move to a different culture and to a different approach. This is the Epicurean with Lucretius. We're going to see Lucretius, sorry, L-U, L-U, not L-E. So you're going to see that here we have two names. We have Epicurean up there, and we have Lucretius. Because we know the philosophy of Epicure through the poem written by Lucretius. Now we're in the Roman culture. Roman culture that inherited the other cultures, the Mediterranean, Greek and others. This is this cultural wave that moves, huh? Sometimes it's Semitic, sometimes it's Greek, and then it's Roman, and then it's Pharaohic, and then it's European, and then it's Indian, Chinese, what have you. So there's a cultural wave. Now this is the philosophy of atoms. This is the morality, the ethics of atoms as well. If we as human beings are made out of atoms. Kind of an explosion, by the way. Think of the Big Bang, yes, but don't think of the Big Bang and go back to it thinking that this is a Big Bang. But it's kind of Big Bang, by the way. It's atom. The whole universe is made out of a single atom. And then of this explosion, we have all these atoms that are moving in the universe. And we, as well as our souls, as well as fire, as well as water, as well as anything we can think of, intelligible or unintelligible, is made out of atoms. Due to a swerve. While they're moving, they swerve, by the way, okay? And the swerve has to do with the idea of fate or non-fate. It's fascinating. It is definitely fascinating, okay? So how atoms explain phenomena? The nature and morality of the soul. Phenomena of the soul. The cosmos and its morality, okay? And the permanent constituents of the atoms. How atoms dissolve, disappear. How we as human beings die. But the most important, if we're made out of atoms, this doesn't mean that there's no ethics and I can do whatever I want. I can kick anyone and I can make advantage of everything. To the contrary, I need to pay great attention and to live in tranquility. And in tranquility as an individual and tranquility in society. This is a very ethical, moral system. And don't think only, religions can give us systems of morality or systems of happiness, okay? So I think you're